And I love, like I said, as we start seeing these layers start to how they're built upon each other, because the voice that Ra Uberhu, received all this information from, that is what told him where to put which hexagrams where. It's like
Mhm.
that's, I think, what's unique to human design is that the hexagrams go around the mandala, as same as in astrology. It's that new component. So I find it really interesting that it places this hexagram here, this gate, at this time of the year when you are still kind of going inward, which brings me to you, Tora, kind of talking about what some of that symbolism is with Imbolc and this time of year right now, if you want to speak to that a little bit. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley, on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello there, Haley. How are you?
Hello. Good.
Hello. And we have a special guest here with us today. Hello, Tora. How are you?
Hello, and I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. And we're taking a little different approach today. So, a lot of you out there listening may have heard us maybe talk about Tora before. She's a good friend of mine. I'm like in this really fun and interesting position right now that I have the two projectors in my life that have the most influence on me, and they're both 6'2" projectors. So I have a wise counsel around me all the time. One is my daughter and one is one of my great friends here. So we're excited to bring Tora into the fold today because we wanted to kind of continue on the theme that we started really in January around the Human Design New Year, which officially started back in January in Gate 41. And as we were doing the transit episode, or as I was getting ready for the transit episode, reviewing it and everything for February, there was this correlation that stuck out. I'll be honest. I use ChatGPT and Claude sometimes to help me organize my thoughts because I'm a mess on my own.
They're great tools.
They're
It's like
great
they're great
tools.
tools. I use them as well with my
Mhm,
writing and other
mhm.
things.
I
They're
I think they're
tools that we
gems.
can use.
I love it because it does give you ideas and it helps you organize your thoughts. And so I had read an article somewhere with a woman that works with AI, and she talked about how when she was doing research and stuff, because she does a lot of research, obviously, I do too, that she gave it this prompt to give her a response that also included something she called Kismet, which was just kind of a unexpected little like connection you might find. She was talking about how when you're talking to people in person or you're having a great conversation and you can suddenly just start to make all these random connections in the topics you're talking about that you might have missed on your own, but when you bring someone else into the conversation, you get these little moments of like, so it's been fun when I'm doing research that it gives me these great little feedbacks. This is in Claude. This is not in chat. So as I was researching the gates and putting together my thoughts and everything, it gave me this kismet of there being this correlation between kind of these New Year's themes, like in the gates and all this stuff, and then the Celtic tradition of Imbolc. And it was talking about also the goddess, which I call Brigid or Tora. How did you said there's different ways to pronounce her name?
There's lots of different ways of pronouncing her name. Bridget is one, Brigid, Breed,
Mhm.
Brigid. So she doesn't care as
She
long as you're
doesn't.
connecting to her.
Yeah, and so it's like there's a correlation there with her, and then also it was talking about where started looking at, because everybody's been talking also about the Chinese New Year and the wood snake. This is the year of the wood
Mhm.
snake, and all these themes started to kind of meld together. But as I was reading about Imbolc in particular and the goddess, I was like, I've I've got to talk to Tora about this. And then I thought, well, let's just bring her on because Tora is, I don't want to say expert. That sounds like a weird word, but she is truly an expert in goddess and goddess energy and working with the goddess. Is she had a podcast? Did you have a podcast,
Yeah.
Dancing with the Goddess?
Yeah.
And
Dancing with the Goddess
and
podcast.
YouTube
It's
channel.
still out there. I
Mm-hmm.
just haven't recorded anything.
It's okay. She's got lots of things going on. She is a fiction writer. She writes these amazing goddess inspired, I guess that's the right way to say it, right?
I call it goddess
Fantasy.
fantasy and science fiction.
Yes, goddess fantasy and
Nice.
science fiction. And she's a writer. She's also an artist. If you're watching us on the video, you can see some of her art on the wall there. She does these, and you may have heard me talk about these awesome mandala coloring books, which I'm always coloring. I have a stack of them now. And so she has her mandala art. She has the books. She's just a font of like wisdom and information in my life. And I'm so happy she's here to fill in that gap for us. And then Haley, because I just want to give you a little task. I said, why don't you look into this, the themes around the Chinese New Year? And we just thought we'd kind of have a little fun playing off each other here and exploring them, because I think that it's important for everybody to realize that there might be a lot of pressure on us right now to feel like we have to have things done and we have to like we're losing speed or we're losing traction if we're not already like got our goals nailed down and all the things that we want to have happen this year and everything. But I think we're going to find out as we explore here today, that's not the time for that right now. We're still in this time of almost reflection and still, as you said, in winter. And so who wants to go first? Haley, you want to, I'm curious to hear about, because let's do that because we did just have the Chinese Lunar New Year occurred on the 29th of January.
Yes.
Which was the first new moon of the year.
Yes,
which
because
is
they
one
go
of the
by
reasons
them.
why they use lunar calendar.
Yeah.
That's why their new year happens near the end of January. February is like when is the first lunar year.
Yeah.
First new moon of the year.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
So I spent all this morning researching, so I have quite a bit. But
it's not a research paper. You can still it down, but I know you're excited.
And I
Listen
don't
to me.
know necessarily if I have all of my notes in a reasonable order. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
So one of the first things that I found kind of interesting is the kind of the history of how we got to the Chinese zodiac was actually kind of rooted in tracking Jupiter and its orbit around the sun, and they actually call that the year star. So that was interesting to me that they based it tracking off of Jupiter. So the Chinese Lunar New Year.
I have a question, or I don't know. I wonder, because you can see Jupiter right now, because it's pretty bright in the sky right now. I think they said tonight it might even be like, at least where I am, I guess it's the same for everybody. Towards the east, maybe. Yeah. So sorry to interrupt.
But so the Chinese New Year or the Lunar New Year, and it does also kind of vary a little bit. Different countries in Asia, they may celebrate a little bit differently. But it does start the Spring Festival, and then that ends 15 days later on the eve of the Lantern Festival. So basically for the first 2 weeks, it's just a lot of like seeing family, like connecting with people, just kind of like getting off to a great start to the year. There's a lot of traditions around the color red and kind of like certain foods and stuff like that. And so the Chinese zodiac specifically, it rotates through a 12-year cycle with the animals plus the traditional 5 elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, which our friend Brittany with Serenity and Shui also told us about. And so the snake is actually the 6th year in the animal cycle. So we're kind of right in the middle of there. But what I did not know is it's actually part of a bigger 60-year cycle. And so that's because of the combination of the 5 elements, which do alternate between more of a yang energy and a yin energy.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of the elements and the 12 animals.
And this
And
is a
so,
yin. This is a yin, right? A yin wood snake is what I heard.
yes, I
Mhm.
believe so.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so actually the last time there was a wood snake was in 1965.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah. So like I said, it fluctuates between a yang and a yin energy. Last year was the wood dragon, and that was a yang wood, which that energy is symbolized as kind of like a sturdy tree. It's associated with being rigid, divisiveness, and kind of often an angry energy or an angry nature, which sounds really great.
That was last year?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah, that checks out.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so then this year's wood snake, as you said, is a yin wood, which is more symbolized by flowers, leaves, grass, things that kind of grow and go kind of quickly.
Mm.
And they're often described as easygoing, flexible, and diplomatic. So it's a nice play off of last
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
A yang year is always followed by a yin year. So it'd be like we had a yang wood and now we have a yin wood. And the energy of the elements is also called the heavenly stems. So there's the heavenly stems, which is the elements, and then the earthly branches, which are the zodiac animals. So that's kind of another way that you'll hear or you'll see it described.
Hmm.
And also, from my understanding, each animal is also itself associated with one of the elements. So snake is associated with fire. So we have kind of a wood fire snake. I was also seeing people describe it as that, the fire energy of the snake along with the wood energy of the heavenly stem.
Hmm.
The ox is associated with earth. Dog is also earth.
Hello, that's me.
So that's kind of the background from what I understand of the Chinese zodiac and the Lunar New Year.
Mhm.
So what people were saying that the year of the wood snake can be, it could be a year of positive transformation, working on shedding toxicity.
Mhm.
According to an Asian and Asian American studies professor at San Francisco State University, his name is Jonathan H.X. Lee. He said, it's, this is a quote, it's shedding the ego, letting go of the past, letting go of anger, letting go of love lost. This is a year where that kind of growth, personal and macro, internal and external, is very much possible.
Mhm.
The snake is also commonly associated with intelligence, resilience, and love, which is kind of not how we see it so much in Western culture. We see kind of snake as like this bad thing all the time.
Reason why that is.
Oh. Oh, yeah? What's that?
Yeah.
It's connected with the goddess. The snake is very connected with the goddess, feminine energy, and from some of my research into the Chinese snake,
Mhm.
is the snake is very feminine and connected with femininity, and because of patriarchy, anything connected with the feminine has been demonized.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
did.
so,
Yeah, I saw another
yeah.
part of it that I forgot to include in my research, that it was associated with basically a temptress of a woman who lures
Mhm.
men. I was like,
To
okay.
their doom.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boy.
And kind of
Mhm.
on that, the snake is also a sign that can cause significant clashes and conflicts. So this year could be highly creative, collaborative, and exciting, but it also could be pretty unpredictable and surprising.
I think it'll be
Um,
both.
yeah.
I don't think there's it could be this way or that. I think it's going to be all of it because
Yeah.
honestly, it's also what's your worldview? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some other quotes that I pulled from a Fairy Chow. She's a or there. It's like Thierry. There's
Oh,
a lot of
Terry,
Terry.
like
Okay.
French, like
Yes.
yeah, like or not pronunciation, but a French spelling, French name.
Yeah. It's a Hong Kong-based feng shui expert. They said we need to be mindful of accidents as we approach the snake year. The overall atmosphere in the world will become slightly more chaotic. And then I thought about, in the US specifically, how January leading up to the snake year has looked. And I was like, Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it checks out.
Um, mhm.
Oh, I was just gonna say the imagery you were talking earlier about the symbolism of the snake, and particularly this year about shedding the skin, because someone pointed out, and it was a good thing to consider and remember, because it was like you have to shed the old, like a
Mhm.
snake. If it doesn't shed its skin, then it's not good for the snake. I believe it dies
Mhm.
because it needs
Mhm.
it's like it's holding you in too tightly. It's things you don't
Mhm.
need anymore. And so you have to really like let that go.
Mhm.
And then also Torah was that when Haley just said the symbolism with the feminine, right?
Mhm.
Uh, because the Kismet thing that I read was talking about Imbolc, and that's what I asked you about Brigid, because
Mhm.
it said there's a monument somewhere, and I don't think it was Ireland. I don't know where it was over there, but noticing that at her feet there was like almost like a snake in slumber kind of thing. It was like around itself. And I've seen a lot of things in Celtic tradition that
Mhm.
has the snake as well around it. That have you?
Yeah, I haven't read of a snake being connected with Brigitte,
I think it
but
may
it
have
very
just
well
been a
could
feminine thing in
because,
general.
yeah, feminine
Yeah.
thing in general of that transformation. Part of what Brigitte is one of the areas that she rules over is healing. And part of that is that transformation. It's not just physical healing,
Mm,
but spiritual healing and mental healing as well,
shedding the
which
skin.
could pull in because with the snake in goddess spirituality, it's transformation. It's that shedding of the skin is shedding what you don't need anymore, what no longer fits you. In human design terms, it's looking at your conditioning and what conditioning that is not your true self, and
Mm-hmm.
shedding and deconditioning is part of this energy of the snake.
Hmm. Interesting.
A- And part of what we're looking at the first of the year is what what do we want to let go of so that we can move forward in where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Haley, do you have more?
Oh yeah, I have more.
Oh, I have to give you.
uh,
You may speak.
yeah, so more that Terry said was slightly more chaotic, but there's no need to be overly grim. We can always choose to look at things positively.
Mhm.
And then they also said snakes have a more observant personality. The yin wood snake is more like a little green snake rather than a large cobra,
Hmm.
who can observe clearly before making a decisive strike at the right moment.
Hmm.
So I did like that visualization of it. It's not this mean, aggressive, or
Mm,
really dangerous cobra. It's a little garden snake. And then there was two main folklores that really kind of anchor the positive qualities of the snake.
Mhm.
And one of them is actually it's about the creation of the Chinese zodiac.
Mhm.
So originally the snake was a four-legged and happy creature, but he became angry when the other animals isolated him because of his appearance. So he blamed the Jade Emperor for making him that way, and the anger changed some of his physical features, growing fangs and prompting him to snap at other creatures. The Jade Emperor punished him by taking away his legs, and the emperor promised if the snake won a competition against the other animals, which would eventually dictate the order of the zodiac, the
Hmm.
snake could win a prize and maybe get his legs back. The snake placed sixth, and that impressed the Jade Emperor with his perseverance and dedication, and the Jade Emperor made him one of the animals of the zodiac.
In the sixth
Um,
place.
yes.
Hmm.
mm,
And then this is another quote from the professor, Lee, said, he learned how to control that anger, but because that anger was a part of him for so long, he had the yearning to go out and harm and bite. When that happened, he would stay isolated and he would grow out of his old skin in order to let go of the past. Is what we were talking
Oh.
about.
Oh, that's
mm,
cool. I like
Hmm.
that. That's interesting.
Yeah. And the snake is also, as I said earlier, associated with love. And so the other folklore that kind of embodies this is the legend of the white snake. It's actually one of China's 4 main great folk tales.
Mm-hmm.
There was an immortal white snake disguised as a maiden who falls in love with a man. The man dies upon discovering her true identity, which is like kind of rude.
Kind of typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of patriarchy there in the culture.
Yeah.
No offense.
And so that prompted her to steal from this tree of immortality to try and revive him. She was caught in the act by an emperor who guarded the tree, and she explained that her love for the man spans thousands of years, as he had saved her life in the past. The emperor was moved by the love story and encouraged her to save her love. So it was. I liked the
Yeah.
creation of the Zodiac story a little bit better,
Yeah.
but to each their own. And then I also found some celebrities that are born under the sign of the snake.
Mhm.
We have Mahatma Gandhi, Pablo Picasso, JFK, Anne Frank, Bob Dylan, and Taylor Swift.
Taylor
Oh.
Swift. That was the one that I saw them with. Oh, well, that kind of explains some
Yeah.
of Taylor Swift's,
Mm-hmm.
because she has that energy of resilience and very known for her collaboration with other artists. And so she is embodying her snake energy.
Yeah.
Haley, what are you? I'm a dog.
I'm an
Really?
ox.
You're an ox.
I'm a tiger.
See, I thought she knew she was a tiger. Didn't Tora have something to do with tiger as well?
Yes. Tora is the Japanese word for tiger.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So there's a significance when the year falls in the animal sign of your birth year. It's usually a year of turning points, and it's also known as the Grand Duke Jupiter return. So,
Whoa. So wait a
that was
minute.
fun.
So say that again. When the
year falls, so the year of the snake, if that falls in the animal sign of your birth year, so if
Oh.
you're born under a snake and we're in the year of the snake, it's usually a year of turning points because Jupiter has come back.
Yeah,
Again,
Jupiter.
So
Jupiter
instead
return,
of Saturn returns, it's Jupiter returns.
which would
Yeah.
be blessings, right? I mean, Jupiter's a
Yeah.
planet of blessings, right? And things like that.
Expansion.
Well, I did my own little research because we did do the episode. Like I said, last week was our sun transit episode, and today, the day we're recording this, is February 1st, and we moved into just maybe half hour ago, moved into gate 13, gate of the listener, which we go into a lot more depth in that episode. So if you want to listen to more about that, just go back and look at the episode before this one. They are timestamped, so you can go right to gate 13. But in gate 13, it's in the G Center, and it is called the listener. And it's all about what it suggests. It's about listening to the stories and hearing others, bearing witness to their experiences. And I was curious because the gates are based on the hexagrams, but they're not always an exact literal translation. And I think Haley, with us going through these gates as we keep going through them, it's like find these new more levels to them. And so hexagram 13 in the I Ching is actually called fellowship. Oh, it's fellowship of man. And it has its themes of unity and about building fellowship and unity and collaboration among people, emphasizing the importance of shared goals and working together harmoniously. And so there's this kind of this correlation because 13 as far as a human design gate is about listening, but also in order to really foster cooperation and fellowship and unity, you got to be able to listen to people. You can't just like go in there and take charge. And that's not the energy here. This is very much still, I would think, a yin energy in a way, because it is a reflective, listening, holding back, allowing space for others kind of energy. And so it was interesting to see that how they complement each other. Like I said, you could say that hexagram 14 or 13 is actually kind of more action oriented, about like actually building the community, fostering it, bringing it together, whereas the 13 in human design is kind of more about holding space for that and listening. And I love, like I said, as we start seeing these layers start to how they're built upon each other, because the voice that Ra Uberhu, received all this information from, that is what told him where to put which hexagrams where. It's like
Mhm.
that's, I think, what's unique to human design is that the hexagrams go around the mandala, as same as in astrology. It's that new component. So I find it really interesting that it places this hexagram here, this gate, at this time of the year when you are still kind of going inward, which brings me to you, Tora, kind of talking about what some of that symbolism is with Imbolc and this time of year right now, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, Imbolc is that midpoint of winter. It's midwinter. It's 6 weeks from winter solstice
Mm-hmm.
on December 21st
Mm-hmm.
and spring equinox on March 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
So Imbolc falls right in the center of that. So it's midwinter. And if you're following the natural cycles of the world, and especially we're looking at the Celtic tradition here, which is more northern.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for winter to be ending pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food sources may be getting scarce. You're tired of the dark, tired of the cold. You're looking for spring to happen. This is also a metaphor in our lives. Get to that point of where we need some change. And midwinter gives us that point of, oh, there's some hope here.
Mm-hmm.
Crocuses start coming up. Imbolc has been translated as ewe's milk.
As what?
In ewe's milk, as in female sheep,
Mm. Oh,
because
you,
that's when
EWE.
EWE.
Mm-hmm.
Because around this time is when sheep are starting to have their babies.
Oh.
And then their milk is starting to flow, which gave those people an additional food source that they didn't have. And one of the stories and one of the reasons why we have groundhog in the West around this time
Mm-hmm.
is the story of the Celtic, I'm not sure if she's Welsh or Irish,
Mm-hmm.
goddess Koyak
Mm-hmm.
or Kaliak. I've heard it
Mhm.
both ways, and I'm probably butchering both because I don't speak Gaelic. I would like to, but I don't.
Yeah, it's hard.
And she is the hag of winter. She's the goddess who rules over winter.
I love
And the
that term.
story,
I love that term, the hag of winter. I'm like, I feel
well,
that.
hag
I know
is,
what you mean.
is
It's
one
the
of
older
those
woman.
terms that have been demonized, that it meant like a crone, a
Mm-hmm.
wise woman,
Mm-hmm.
an older wise woman. And she would look at midwinter, she would, if it was bright and sunny, or the groundhog saw its shadow,
Mm-hmm.
if it was bright and sunny, Koyak would go out and gather more firewood.
Mm-hmm.
And if she gathered enough, we'd have that 6 weeks, the two spring equinox.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was stormy and cold, she couldn't go out and gather more firewood. And then that would be a sign that spring would come early, because she wouldn't have enough firewood to keep her warm through the rest of the winter.
Mm-hmm. And I did just recently hear that, and it made so much sense because it never made sense to me, the whole Puxatawny Phil Groundhog Day.
Mhm.
If like if he saw his shadow, we still had longer time, and if he didn't, you would think it was the opposite. But it was something like,
Mhm.
I think I even read one version of it was that if it were cloudy and, like you said, cold
Mhm.
weather was bad, it meant she would just go back to sleep. She's like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
back to
she would
sleep. I
just
ain't going
cut
nowhere.
her up and like, oh. like most of us, it's like, I'm not
Kinda
going out
jealous.
now and getting more firewood. I'm
Yeah.
going to just snuggle up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's part of that. And when you look at these older mythologies and traditions, they've stood the test of time. That if it is a good day on midwinter,
Mhm.
there's going to be more, it's going to get cold again. In another week, we'll have about a week, and there's some more mythology that I'm not 100% sure on this, but there's more mythology that when it is good and we have that week, and there's usually like a week of good weather before it turns again, is
Mhm.
when her son goes out and finds his bride.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I can say from my window, there's gonna be 6 more weeks of winter because this
Oh,
morning
mine too.
I woke up and yesterday was very nice. I think it was a little warmer yesterday, but today's very nice. But I actually, when I opened the door this morning, I thought, because we just had all that really unusually cold and snowy weather here in South Carolina. Um, but I remember thinking, oh, the poor birds must be confused because it's such a drastic change from last week and it feels like spring this morning. And the
Mhm.
birds sounded different. They were like all happy and cheery and singing their little songs, which I haven't heard in a while. And so that's interesting that you said this. And it has been like maybe this is the second day of nice weather. It looks like it is. And then
Mhm.
it cools off again. What's it like where you are, Haley?
Well, let's see.
Still cold.
Thursday we got like I swear it was a blizzard.
I
We
saw
got
you
like
out.
3 inches of snow, and there's so much snow on the ground. But
Hmm.
it's currently 53, and the rest of
Mhm.
the week is supposed to be in the 60s.
There you go.
Mhm.
And
And
12.
And
then next Monday, at least according to my weather app, because I live in southern Utah, so I'm
mhm.
just over on the other side of the
Yeah.
Rockies from Haley, the dry side of the Rockies.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be nice all of this week, and then next week, cold again.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there you heard it first. Don't need to. Well, by the time this airs, it's already happened. We'll see what Phil says. But
We'll see.
isn't that interesting? I wonder. I wonder. I didn't look into Puxatawny Phil or Groundhog's Day, like how that started here, because isn't it
Why is it a
interesting?
groundhog?
Yeah, and it's a male groundhog. I'm like when I
Yeah.
learned
Patriarchy.
when I just learned this about the Celtic. We're just gonna say she's a Celtic
Mhm. Celtic
winter hag.
kind of encompasses
Yeah.
all of that area.
Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure she predates Phil." And so
Oh, by a long, long, long time.
and once again, here we are in this part of the world just forgetting that it started in another culture
Mhm.
with a woman at the center of it,
Mhm.
and also seen as more from the standpoint of our founding fathers, not the actual people that originally here in America.
Mhm.
Um, but that I'm talking about the Christians that came over here and just decided
Mhm.
that everything's Christian. Take a pagan holiday again, or a pagan not holiday, but a tradition, and like turn it around and
Mhm.
make it
Mhm.
something of their own. And now it's even a freaking big old groundhog that's a male groundhog, which I don't even know if Phil's always a male groundhog anyhow. They think they just call him Puxatawny Phil, don't they?
I have
Well, I
no
know
idea.
this one is because they were talking about this was the first time that he was a father because his mate just had
Whoop-de-doo.
whoop-de-doo.
And that means what to
What?
me?
Absolutely nothing.
Worse
It's like they took this really lovely story that featured an older woman
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and there's more to her than just whether winter's going to be lasting longer or not. Because she, like all goddesses, she's a full-fledged personality,
Mm-hmm.
person,
Mhm.
entity. And she gets reduced to so little that, and that's what has happened so much in the world is our women's wisdom gets turned around when we're talking about Brigid. When the things that she rules over are poetry,
Mhm.
healing, and smithcrafting. And smithcrafting in ancient Celtic world was done by women.
And what's smith
And
crafting? Is
she
that
wrote
metal? Is that
metalworking.
metalworking?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And
Hell
it
yeah.
also included any type of crafting.
Mhm.
So jewelry work, it included weaving. It would, in today's society, crocheting or knitting would be part of that.
Mhm.
Um,
Hey, Haley.
the arts are part of that. Poetry wasn't just what we consider poetry today. It was that
Expressive
storytelling,
writing, yeah.
the
Story,
expressing yourself.
which Gate 33, the listener, is in that full channel 13,
Mhm,
the narrative with the narrative for what's called the prodigal, but it's also
mhm.
about storytelling and creating new stories and creating new
Yeah,
narratives.
yeah. And poetry was about inspiration and what inspired you.
Mm.
And, and that's very much in the ancient Celtic world. Those were the three primary skills needed to function in society, were those three skills. And
Mm.
they were ruled over by Brigid. And that meant she ruled over all of the herbal arts for healing,
Mm.
to keep you healthy, fertility,
Mhm.
dyeing, weaving, midwifery, brewing. She was over brewing beer,
Mm.
agriculture, fertility, music, poetry, storytelling. Basically, anything that was a womanly art,
Mm.
which is anything that makes life possible, comfortable, or beautiful, she ruled over. And what has patriarchy done?
Mm.
Taken all of those and devalued them. But if
Mhm.
we don't have those, what quality of life do we have?
Mhm. Not
We don't
much.
have much of a quality of life. All we have is work.
Yeah.
And there's more to life than work and
Haley's like,
production.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, we saw it in the pandemic. What did people turn to? They turned to music. They turned to entertainment, to books, to story, to connecting with each other in community,
Creativity,
Mhm.
creative pursuits.
creativity, because that's what we need as a society, which is part of that Gate 13 in community.
Mhm.
And I kind of like how it was in the hexagram, it was creating that community, but to really create community, you have to listen to what is needed for the community. And unfortunately, our government's not doing that.
Yeah. Well, we could
Yeah.
go on. Well, and also that listening has to be done on your own as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a collective energy in the human design system. It's in the collective circuitry, but it is reflecting on what has happened, on the experiences, both other people's stories or experiences and
Mm-hmm.
your own. And I think that really ties in with what we were talking about with the wood snake in this time of year because I love what you said, Haley, how the snake in the mythology to temper his anger and that he would not lash out
Mm-hmm.
again, that he had to withdraw and
Mhm.
allow that to just kind of slough off of him because he didn't want to be that anymore. And I think that's what's most important here and what we're talking about is the idea that this is such a potent time of year because it's also the cycles of the moon as well, right? Torah is a time
Mm-hmm.
to be crafting this vision or what is it you want to release? What is it you want to leave behind as you move forward in the year? Because that's what
Yeah.
um
What has been restricting you? If you're looking at a
Mhm.
snake's skin, it's shedding its skin because it's being restricted
mhm,
and
Mhm.
constricted, and it can't expand anymore, can't grow anymore unless it sheds that skin, unless it sheds what's no longer working for it.
mhm,
Mhm.
And that we can tie into our own lives of how we need to take this time of reflection before planting season, because we're, as midwinter, we're looking at, if we're an agricultural community, we'd be looking at our seeds. What do we have to plant for the next year?
Mm-hmm.
For ourselves, it's like looking at, what do we want to plant in the spring? What do we want to harvest in the fall to carry us over the winter? How do we want to grow? How do we want to show up in the world? And we can't do that if we're tied and constricted with our old beliefs, with our limiting beliefs, with our old conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I love about human design and working with Dana. We've been talking about human design, studying it together
About
for
5
the
years.
last, 5 years, however
No,
long
it's
it's been.
2025. It's going on 5 years that we met.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We're digging into it pretty soon after we met.
Yep. And by knowing my human design and looking at what I meant to be versus where I was showing up or not showing up, has made a really big impact. And that's part of that has been shedding what I no longer need. This can be not just a process you do one and done and you're, over.
That'd be
It's a
nice.
continual process, just like a snake is always
Yeah.
shedding its
Mhm.
skin because it's always growing. If we don't shed our skins, if we don't shed our limiting beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
then we stagnate as a
Mhm.
person. Our spiritual growth, our personal growth stagnates. We become spiritually and emotionally bankrupt
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
if
Good
we're
way to
not
put it.
expanding.
Good way to put it. Well, and I can't help but be drawn to the whole, like, what happens in the micro happens in the macro and vice versa, because we're obviously in a very difficult time right now in our country, which might as well say it's the world, because what happens here does tend to ripple out into the rest of the world. The
Mhm.
world's feeling it for sure.
Mhm.
And it's very easy to get caught up in that. I mean, I can't believe we're only 12 days into this administration, and it's just like, oh my God, what is
They're
happening?
doing it
Oh,
on
my head
purpose.
is tired. My head is sore from tapping.
Tapping.
I had to
know.
tap last night before I could go to sleep
I know, every
because
day.
of this air of desperation
Yeah.
that is
But
being fostered, but it's a moment before change.
exactly. And not to
Yeah.
mention that we just was it back in October, September, whatever it was, that I was listening to somebody else talk about this today, Pluto moving into Aquarius and creating
Mhm.
this era, that this is 240-year cycle. So it's like, this
Mhm.
is when things like this happen, these big changes. And remember, Aquarius is the, sign of, it's an air sign, but it's also like about the individual and change and all these things that we talk about a lot on
Mhm.
in human design, that I know a lot of people feel disempowered right now because it seems so overwhelming, myself included. I can get right in there
Mhm.
with everybody else of just
Mhm.
feeling so
Yes.
hopeless, like, what can I do? But if what's happening on the world stage is also happening within us, which is what we'll also talk about in A Course in Miracles, it's like, the one person changing themselves or getting clear on what they want, or into their own personal power and being who they want to be, writing those new stories for themselves. A society, a country, a government is nothing more than a collection of individuals. And it's like, in order for the group, the collective, to change, it has to start at the individual
Mhm.
level. And we're seeing that, and I think it's happening. It's so big and overwhelming because it's happening so fast, because so many
Mhm.
people are finally, like, activated, waking up, like,
Mhm.
ready to go. And it's exciting to be a part of that, and why I also feel like it's important to do these self explorations, even though a lot of people might say, well, it's, you know, selfish or what's some other, not selfish, what's the word I'm looking at or looking for? It's like, to
Hmm.
think you have the time to just sit around and do your inner work or work on
But
yourself.
if you don't, then we, if we don't do our inner work,
Mm-hmm.
then the other side of the channel is 13 is gate 33,
Mm-hmm.
which is the storyteller, which is the one who is looking at the past to see where we need to go in the future.
Mm-hmm. That channel, yeah.
Yeah, that full channel, and I happen to have that full channel.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, if we're
Yeah.
not looking at how we change so that we can look at the past and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's creating which is a fundamental thing in manifestation in the process as
Hmm.
well, is like you have to decide what it is you want moving forward, and then you just start writing that story.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening now, is
Hmm.
that this whole shedding, like we said, is happening because
Hmm.
it is really activating people to say, okay, well, is this what we want to do? And Haley and I talk about this a lot on the podcast. Another thing we see in the chart is the whole growth happens through struggle generally.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, people come to human design, or they come to all these things that we like talking about because things are uncomfortable and they want to change. I was listening to us talk when I was editing. I had to chuckle because I said, nobody's coming to me because everything's great. Nobody's doing all the personal development because everything's great in their world. It's like something needs to change. And
Mm-hmm.
that's
Hmm.
definitely where we are, is in this moment of like
Yeah.
something needs to change.
Somebody told me a long time ago that's really stuck with me is that pain is the precursor to change,
Mhm,
because we don't change if we're comfortable. We
mhm,
change when we're in pain. The pain makes us look at what are we uncomfortable with, what's not working in our lives. And this, we looking at it on a macro level,
mhm,
things are becoming so uncomfortable and so painful that there has to be a change made.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
We have the choice as individuals. Is that change going to be a positive, beneficial for ourselves, our families, our communities?
mhm,
Or is that change going to be harmful? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we as individuals, because I've been thinking about this a lot too, is what can I do? You're looking at it, it's like, what
Mm-hmm.
can I do? And it's us as individuals is making those choices of how we want to show up in the world, and our actions and what we say, how we act in the world is going to have that ripple effect and affect others. And the more of us that do that, like the three of us and the people that we come in contact with and influence, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. I don't want to be in this side of hate and just in this place of discomfort. I would like to be in this place. The more of us that gather together and do
mhm,
that, change can happen.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What are
It
your
will
thoughts,
be
Haley? Oh, I'm
it
sorry.
will
Go
be
ahead.
hurtful and harmful, uncomfortable in the change, but it's necessary.
Well, the
Mm-hmm.
reason I ask Haley is because she is of a different generation. She's on in
Hmm.
her first 30 years of a line six. You are in your uh
Third, yeah.
off the roof. She's still
I am
climbing
off
up
the
on the
roof.
roof. You are off the roof. But I how are you feeling right now, Haley, as far as, you know, I know this conversation has kind of gotten off course a little bit, but I think it's pertinent. I think
I
it's
think it's all good.
timely. Yeah. It's timely in that I know that you kind of you hang out in your cave with your dog and your work family online and stuff. So it's not like, I know you're not out socializing a whole lot, but I also know from your age and your perspective that if you're on social media or whatever, it's going to send you different things than it probably sends us.
Mm-hmm.
Although We still get all the same cat videos. What are you noticing anything more among people your age or younger age, like how they are feeling? Or I don't know, I'm just looking for a different perspective, I
Mhm.
guess. Or not a different one, but just what is your perspective right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think as of very lately, like my eyes have been open to a lot of things. And one of those primarily is how crappy the algorithms are on Instagram,
Yeah. They
on
have
Meta, on
changed. They changed too. I mean, not like
bunch
it
of
was
crap.
announced, but as soon as the whole like Meta, TikTok, all this other stuff kind of screwiness went on, I
Mhm.
started seeing different things on
Me
Instagram.
too.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Haley.
But
Yeah.
so I'm much more cognizant on the information that I am actually taking in. And
Mhm.
something I saw from, I believe it was Hank Green, is he was saying the power we have is the attention we give to things.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like, don't give attention to the things that are not serving you, that are not good for you, that are not beneficial to the whole. Like,
Mhm.
put your attention to where things will benefit the whole, will benefit you, are good. Like, that's how we can take back more of our power in this is where you put your attention. And so
Mhm.
I'm trying to be a lot more cognizant of that and just kind of really, really questioning what I am actually seeing, like not just taking it for its face value. Like I am trying to be more cognizant of that, like doing my own further research on it, like
Mhm.
from sources that are good, that aren't just crap. Because that I sent you I want to plug this another podcast, Sinisterhood. I listen to them. I love them. They have a episode that I sent to you
Yes.
about the dead internet theory, and that's really what like opened my eyes to this on just how much crap there is in the world on social media and all of this. So I'm trying to be more like pay attention to that, and I'm tired of all of the hate and the anger
Mhm.
and all
Mhm.
of this that you see everywhere. And it's like I want to use my power to try and just create more happiness, create more love, like bring people together, because that's how change is going to happen is
Mhm.
through love. It's through all of this. It's not through anger and hate.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's the old paradigm.
Mhm.
Anger and hate and control is the old paradigm. And in human design, they talk about the new paradigm that's coming in. And part of that new paradigm, I believe, is that of cooperation, of collaboration. I don't think it's any coincidence that we're in the year of the snake, which is also the year of collaboration.
Mhm.
And we're seeing it highlighted what happens when we don't collaborate.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 That's one good thing we can say about this person that shall not be named, um, is he shines the light on what's been hiding in the dark. Because he
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
so dark, he shines the light on everything else.
Mhm.
And we're seeing what happens when we don't cooperate, when we think
Mhm.
about only ourselves. Yes, we can be self-full and take care of ourselves. We need to,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but we don't need to be selfish and greedy either.
Mhm.
And we're seeing what happens when we do that versus when we are working together as a community and how much we can do as a community
Mhm.
Mhm.
in
Well,
partnership and collaboration.
yeah, and that's important at this time of year too, because the energy that we're going to experience this month in particular, just through the solar transits and everything,
Mhm.
is we're in 13 now, 13 and 7, seven's in the earth, which is the army. But just really the collection of people is listening, but it's also the will of the people kind of thing. And then we're
I
going to
also
move
have
into,
gate 7.
oh, yeah. Well, you got all this is Taurus month. And then we're going to have the energy. There's a lot of emotional energy this month, like we talked about. Well,
Mhm.
like I said, you can go back and listen to last week's episode. But then we're going to be moving into gate 49, Gate of Revolution, which Tora has,
Which
her unconscious sun. Um, a catalyst for change, like what's important. And then we have
Mhm.
gate 30 after that, another one of like feeling, how do you want to feel, the passion, like what do you want to bring
Mhm.
into the world. And then we
Mhm.
have gate 55, which is my gate. Well, I had the other one too, but the abundance of spirit, pl- creating from this place of non the the spirit, and it's the gate of like half empty, half full. It's like where you put your attention kind of thing. Where do
Mhm.
you want to put your attention? And then we end the month in gate 3740, which you also have, right, Tora? You have 3740. Yeah, you do. It's the solar plexus in the will center.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. This is the one that I can never remember that I have because I don't understand that. And I have the whole channel.
You do. Well, it's 37 is friendship. It's friendliness, but it's about, I know you're like, well, friendly, but it's that continuation of that 1949 3740,
Mhm.
because I know you have the
Yeah, I have
1949.
that
Yeah.
whole
Which is
channel.
all about contracts. Yeah, it's all about agreements and contracts and community, and who are you going to build with? Who are you going to let in? And who's going to help
Mhm.
support you? Like, these are all, if you look at all these themes together, plus with the whole energy of what the Chinese New Year symbols and the wood
Mhm.
snake, there's just like so much potent energy right now. And I'm not even an astrology expert, but you could also look at, I follow her a lot. What's her name? Carrie Samuels. She's on
Mhm.
YouTube, Kari. I'll put a link in the show notes. She's astrologer I listen to. I love her stuff.
Mhm.
Like, she's been doing it forever. So on top of like these cycles that we have, like with the human design mandala, right? So that's going
Mhm.
to happen every year. We're going to experience gate 13 around this time,
Mhm.
but there's things happening out in the cosmos that don't happen all the time, that are
Mhm.
also lining up, that this is just like, this month is the month to really, as we talked about, focusing on shedding that skin. What is it you want to let go of? What is it you don't want to bring forward? What is it you do want to bring forward? Who do you want to bring along with you? How do you want to do this? Like, there's just like, we're those seeds. What's that time of
Mhm.
year? Planting those seeds. That's like all of these things are like coming full circle. I don't know if full circle is the right way to say it, but
Well,
coming to
Coming to
with
fruition.
fruition.
yeah, and the sun is they're getting longer, so we're having more energy,
Hmm.
so we're not as lethargic.
Hmm.
And looking, it really makes sense that all of that's happening because it gives us the opportunity, if we're paying attention to those cycles
Hmm.
in the macro, which is in our micro, it gives us that opportunity of now we're looking at it more actively. What is it that we really want to change? During the winter, it's like, all I want to do is just veg,
Hmm.
which we're supposed to do. We're supposed to rest, regenerate. Now that the blood is pumping again, the sun is getting warmer, the days are getting longer, and we're like, what do we really want to do now? We've had this time of contemplation. Now it's like really going in and going, okay, where's my action plan? What action plan am I going to put into place? We're not acting on that plan yet. That happens like at spring equinox, but we're putting those plans in place. We're looking at what doesn't work, what does work,
Hmm.
what do we want to do,
That's the quarter of
so that we,
initiation.
yeah,
Yep.
that's the quarter of initiation, is going and figuring it all out so that we can shine our light. We
Hmm.
can shed our skin. This is us shedding our skin so that we can be in that new place of growth.
Hmm. And I also want to point out that, as far as what's happening right now, I know a lot of people, as we said, feel powerless. But if we think about collective consciousness,
Mhm.
it is like, it's like a train. It's like it doesn't just stop and reverse. It has to
Mm-mm.
slow down. What got us here? We've got to think about what got us here.
Mhm.
What we're experiencing right now is where we were. Okay. So
Mhm.
our present is actually what was happening in the past within all of us collectively. It was apathy. We had a lot of apathy.
Mhm.
We weren't engaged. We were just kind of tuned out. We were focused on the wrong things. We weren't understanding our individual power. We were like on autopilot. And
Mm-hmm.
when that happens, we all disengage. The social media, we became so obsessed and interested in things that were outside of ourselves and not as important. And
Mhm.
when you start making these changes within yourself and getting clear on what you want, but also like doing things that brings joy and beauty into your own life.
Mhm.
A lot of people might push back and say that's not important, but like if if everything is energy as we know it is, the our little we're like the cells in the body that just keep this is we're part of the whole body of
Mhm.
humanity. Each cell has its little part to play, and each one of us has our own part to play. And energetically, if more clusters of like really like thriving, engaged, like I don't want to say positive because it doesn't have to always be positive, but people who are
Mhm.
really
Connected.
connected and
Mhm.
in their own power, like that is going to ripple out into the collective. That's my
Mhm.
standpoint on that.
Mhm.
Is what keeps it's what tries to keep me focused on doing what I do and trying to not get caught up in all that because we do as individuals have that energetic role to play in the larger
Mhm.
picture. That's my
And if we're focusing on those places of joy, one of the comments that I heard from Abraham Hicks a long time ago that stuck with me was the best thing that we can do for ourselves, our communities, the world is to seek joy because that's one of the highest vibrational emotions that there is. And if we're seeking joy within ourselves and doing those things, whether it's coloring a mandala and just enjoying that process of the colors and just allowing ourselves to just be,
Mhm,
we're in a healthy state of being.
Mhm.
We're able to connect with other people because we're now open.
mhm,
When we're focusing on all of the crap in the world, we're like cancer cells.
mhm,
We become cancer cells and we're not healthy. And we're infecting other
mhm.
cells, other people. I would much rather be a white blood cell that is expanding and growing and healthy than a
Mhm.
cancer cell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
I would also
what's your choice?
yeah, I would like to also go on the record and say that this does not mean that I'm saying that you should just withdraw and not do anything. I'm
Oh
saying
yeah.
you need to be right within yourself, but you also need to be engaged and
Hmm.
proactively creating the future that you want. And getting clear on who you are will show you what your place is going to be and what your role
And
is going to
human
be.
design is an excellent one of the best methods that I have found. And I've done a lot of different things. Yeah. I'm not a young chick. I've been doing the self-transformation journey for the last 40 years.
Mhm.
And human design for me has been the most useful for figuring out what the hell am I supposed to be doing with my life?
Mhm.
That was a question I asked when I was 8 years old.
Mhm.
Why am I here? What am I
Haley's
supposed to
doing
be
that.
doing?
I'm there.
Yeah.
You poor line sixes with your like early in life.
Well, I also have gate one, and it's my earth gate,
Mhm.
which is that sense of mission. So it's always like,
Mhm.
I'm here for a reason. What the hell is that reason? And it's only through learning about my human design and accepting those parts of me that is the creative, my gate
Mhm.
one and the gate two. Those are my
Mhm.
sun and my earth, conscious sun and earth gates. And I
Mhm.
was a CPA. So that was me not living my design.
Mhm.
Now I'm living my design as an author and an artist. I'm much happier. And with me being much happier, I can engage with the world more fully
Mhm.
Mhm.
because when I was unhappy, all I wanted to do was curl up and die.
Mm. But
I
also that
couldn't
yeah,
engage.
that energy that
Mhm.
you would give off too, or what you're carrying into that world or into the outer
Mhm,
world, is that more of a shut down, just kind of
mhm.
as a projector, maybe some
Very
bitterness there.
repulsive.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, is that when you are feeling content within yourself and that you're on purpose, like,
Mhm,
it doesn't mean you have to be, doing a job. It means you are fulfilling what your soul is asking of you,
mhm.
whatever that is, right? However you're
Yeah.
designed to be, you were encoded with those energies at your moment of birth for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
We all are.
It's
And
an exploration. It's always an exploration. It's not
yeah,
one and done.
it's not a one and done. We're continuing to explore. The more I explore this, it's going to shed light on other places where I've been hiding,
Hmm.
that I've not been embracing. Gate 7 or Gate 13.
Hmm.
Yeah. So as I explore my human design more and live my human design, I'm more of a fulfilled person.
Hmm.
And that is a very valuable service
Hmm.
Mhm.
that I would not be where I am today without working with Dana with my human design.
Oh,
So if
well,
you are listening out there listening and wondering if human design can really help you, absolutely yes. And
Mhm.
we'll add
Mhm.
an F in there too. But I know this is the
Haley drops an
It wouldn't be the
F-bomb here
first
and
one
there.
on here.
it if you are questioning, there's got to be more to life than whatever you're doing.
Hmm.
Learning about your human design can answer that question of what it was that you as a soul chose when you incarnated.
Yeah.
Because there is a piece of that choice there. It's
Mhm.
not just it happened to us.
Mhm.
There's that piece too, but there's also a larger piece of we chose as this expansive expression of source
Mhm.
that moment of our birth.
That
And
soul came in for that reason.
for that
Mhm.
reason, there's a reason for it. There's a reason you might be feeling uncomfortable and stuck, and it's human design can help you uncover that and live a more fulfilling life. That doesn't mean that you're going to have to change careers. It could,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean you have to, just by knowing that, oh, I jump off at the cliff a lot. They go, what a parachute. That's my lovely gate 16 in action. And
Mhm.
I'm now that I know that, I can go, okay, maybe I want to put a parachute on this time.
Yeah.
Or at least have some idea of where I'm jumping rather than just go, oh, that's a good idea. Where's it going to lead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that. Well,
Mhm.
I think we've given everybody a lot to think about today,
I think we could
and
talk about this for a lot
probably
longer.
we should probably do it more often.
This
Um,
has been very, very fun. I've enjoyed it.
Mhm. Mhm.
we're
Me too.
definitely has been fun, but if you hang out with us here for a second, we're gonna wrap it up here with our segment that we. Oh, Haley, you're gonna have to sing in front of someone else. You ready? What do you know what time it is, Haley?
The incarnation cross of the week.
Very
I love
good.
that.
I know. So cute. Her little face. Yeah, so I did pull an incarnation cross for this week, and I thought it was appropriate. We were doing them randomly, but I think it's appropriate right now to do one that has to do with the theme and the energies that we're
Mhm.
experiencing or will be
Mhm.
experiencing. And so we do every week, Kaylee, we do an incarnation cross. Do you want to say anything about the incarnation cross, of the importance or whatever?
Let me see. Let me see what I got.
Okay.
So, so we look. The incarnation cross is comprised of, on the unconscious and conscious side, the earth and the sun and the earth. So it's 4 gates, and kind of what the incarnation cross is, and this is whether you are aware of it or not. It's the energy, it's basically the energy that you are fully stepping into a room. Like
Mhm.
that is what you fully are bringing into a space. And
Mhm.
it's just, they just usually feel pretty good. So,
That's right. Since they are defined in your chart, those four gates, so it's kind of like the sun and the earth are especially the sun in particular is the main expression of your energy. And so there's 192 incarnation crosses in the human design system, and each gate has three different versions of it. Has a right angle, left angle, and a juxtaposition cross. And so that depends on what your profile is. There's more information. We've got it. We'll do more on incarnation cross. I love doing incarnation cross. But anyways,
Oh, I love incarnation
I know.
crosses.
So this week I've decided to do the left angle cross of masks. Okay.
Mm,
And this consists of, as we are in gate 13, the sun is in gate 13 on the conscious side, earth is in gate 7, as we talked about. And then on the unconscious side, the sun is in gate 43 and the earth is in gate 23. So this is going to be towards the later end of the gate 13's transit, or the sun's transit through gate 13. So that means the left angle cross, Haley, means
it means that your profile starts with a 1.
Mm-mm.
No, it's the left
left.
angle.
Yeah, it's a
No,
left
it
angle.
starts with a 5 or 6.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. I know it's been a while since I asked you that.
I
It's been a
know, it
while since I
has.
Well, it's interesting because when I was looking at this cross, I was like, I thought this was the cross that my mother had, but I was like, but wait a minute. No, she was born on February 8th, and that's actually the right angle cross of explanation. She's a 1-3, but I was getting all confused I always get confused sometimes between the left angle and the right angle. It's a common thing. But anyways, I digress. All right, so the
You
left
didn't give me gate names.
Oh, well, 13, the listener. Okay. 7, the army.
Mhm.
43,
Or a leader.
our leader. 43.
That one I don't know.
I do know 43. Wait, I'm thinking I always
Oh
get
my-
confused. The whole channel is structured, I believe. Oh, I always get this. 40?
Where the hell is 43?
I love 43.
Oh, I have 43.
43, the reason I
43,
don't know about
23.
it's in the ajna,
Yeah,
pointing
it's
towards
I have it.
the, yeah.
It's
the
the
theme in
Genius to
our
Freak
life.
channel.
I know it's
Come on,
Genius
I
to
should have
Freak
known that.
channel, but I couldn't remember me the name. Oh, Breakthrough. Yeah, Breakthrough.
Okay.
Gate of Insight. Makes
I
sense.
have
It's an
this channel.
ashna.
Or this
Yeah.
gate.
Yeah. And then 23, which is on the end of the channel there, assimilation. Splitting apart. It's called an I Ching, but it's also called assimilation.
Okay.
So again, like we had last week, if you think about we have the 4323 does complete a channel there, like you said, that Genius to Freak channel. So you're gonna be someone that's designed to speak your mind if you have this. Anyway, so let me just get into that as a
Yes.
roundabout way of introducing the cross. All right. So if you were born under the left angle cross of masks, you came into this world to understand what others truly desire and to offer them what they need, drawing on your own experiences as a guide. With the ability to step into various roles and wear different masks, you explore the many facets of human life and emotion, gaining insight into what makes people feel seen and supported. This gift of shifting perspectives isn't about concealing your true self. It's a way of connecting deeply with others and learning from every encounter, ensuring you always know just how to meet someone where they are. In sharing your insight, you lead others to redefine personal power and authentic leadership. By inviting people to rewrite their stories, you help them see that the true empowerment comes from embracing a transformative narrative, one that honors the past but opens the door to a more sovereign and fulfilled future. Your work inspires a collective shift, showing that when we listen to our own inner voice, and share our truths, we create space for a new, more compassionate chapter in our lives and the world at large. That pretty much sums
Very
it all
nice.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
We're done. We can all go
Yeah, that
now.
pretty much sums up our entire conversation.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I know. It's funny because, I did that earlier. And then now when I'm reading it back, everything we just talked about, I was like, wow, okay. Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if that's you
There are no
listening,
coincidences.
yeah, if that's you listening, hey, you know what?
Time to step into
Time to
your
step in
power.
if you're not
Mhm.
already. And so,
Yeah.
speaking of stepping in, I would like to invite you to head over to the Human Design Hive Substack because we are starting to build. We're finally starting to build the hive over there. And becoming right now a subscriber. And then we're also going to start doing some monthly calls in there where you can join us live. I think Tora will be there sometimes. Haley will be
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Some other people will be pouring in, but I think for now, this month is going to be, we're going to do a call on February 26th. It's a Wednesday, and times to be announced, but it'll probably be I live in Eastern time, so I tend to think the whole world operates in Eastern time, but I'm cognizant that, there's other time zones. You guys are in the same time zone. I'm outnumbered here, but I'm still like running the show. I think I'm running the show. But yeah, so we're going to start doing some calls, interacting, and then also as a paid subscriber over there, we're going to have some community chats that you can be a part of. And I think for this first call, I'm going to open it up to everyone. But going forward, these will probably be part of the paid membership, which is not going to be too much. It's going to be reasonable because I've been there, I am there quite often. What's your budget? I want to bring people into this, but I also need to honor my own time and put some value on that as well. I'm doing a lot of work around that lately about valuing time, worth, money, all that stuff. It'll probably be a conversation we can go to another time. I didn't mean to talk about it now. But anyway, so I just want y'all to check out the Substack. You can subscribe for free right now to the newsletter. You'll get the podcast episodes sent directly to your inbox, plus the Sun Transit emails. But as time moves on, now that I'm getting familiar with Substack over there and how it works, we're going to start experimenting. But I would really love to start building the community and really getting to know you, the listener, and have your input on building this world together that we're talking about, because that's what a hive does it not? It's a
Mhm.
collective. We're all
collective.
here working together to build something and build a future that we all want to be a part of. So I hope you guys will be there. So
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Me too. You got there's 3 of us in there now.
Hey, it says when more than 2 of you are gathered. Here
Yep.
we are. That's right.
There we are.
All right. Well,
If you want to know more about the goddess Brigid,
Oh yes, I'm
Bridget?
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I went.
that's
Go
fine.
ahead.
You can put it in the show notes too.
Mhm.
I do have, when I was doing my Dancing with Goddess podcast, I have 3 episodes where I talk about the goddess Bridget and the 3 areas that she oversees.
Mhm.
And those are episode 14, 15, and 16. They were recorded last year at this time because I did it
Oh.
last year at Imbolc. So
Oh, interesting.
it'll be an anniversary of it.
We should have mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. And if you want to find out more about me and my books and my art, you can find me at toramoon.com.
Which is totally worth checking out. Like I said, she's got the Ancient Enemies series. No, Legends of
Legends of
Lairheim series.
Lairheim.
Ancient Enemies is the first book.
But, yep.
And you can get that digital or print. Same with the mandala. The mandala, you can get the mandala coloring book. You can get digitally now, and then there is a print version that will be coming out. Correct?
So on pre-order. And if you pre-order the print, you get the digital copy for free.
Definitely
until I print it out. So that'll
Yep.
be the end
But
of
she's
February.
also got really cool like t-shirts and mugs and drinkware and stuff with fun mandala and botanical prints on it. So support the artist out there. And
we
Haley,
need indie artists to be
I have-
supported.
I have
Haley?
one question for Tora.
Sure.
If you're not on the video, there was a cat that popped up several times, and I need to know the cat's name.
Her name is Aya.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. She hears me talking and she has to come, like
Yes.
cats
Mhm.
do. She's got to come and be part of the conversation.
But my
So,
door's locked.
yeah, because usually it's my cat talking with Dina's cat when
Yeah.
we're having our weekly conversations. They both
Yeah.
go, whoa,
Every
who's there?
every witch needs a cat, right?
I
Yes.
know.
We have ours.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's been so much fun talking to you all.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you were here, Tora, and Haley, as you as well. So that's it for today. And as always, we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And until next time, bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.